All right, YouTube, I'm back, and now I'm about to cover people who quit their jobs with no plan B. I'm done, no backup plan. This is it. Now, me personally, I would never do that. I think you should always have something in place before you decide, okay, I'm just quitting, I'm gonna resign, I'm leaving for whatever reason. You want to have another source of income or incomes that's still there when you decide to quit your primary job for corporate America, as they call it. Now, especially if you a parent and you got children depending on you, or even if you live by yourself, but you still got bills, the only people that probably can pull it off, the only way I would do it, let's say if I wanted to go back on that, is if I'm still living at home with mom and dad, which I'm not. And so if I was, then I could say, okay, maybe run it by them. This not working for me. I need to clear my head and focus on this. At least now I'm there. I have no bills. So I got that seat cushion, a safety net. But you do have people out here that just, for whatever reason, I'm mentally burned out. I'm quitting. They have nothing else lined up. And I'm not saying it's necessarily the worst thing. Some people say, hey, I got a chance to clear my head, focus on some things, get in touch with myself, and just not having to deal with being here at this time, sitting at this desk, having a yearly review of your performance, and then you get a raise. 3% is normally the base. Some people get higher raises than that, or just the whole filling out job applications, trying to go from here to there, just not having to deal with anything like you're on a hamster wheel. And then it allows them to come back, center themselves, and then just be ready to step out onto something else. Usually, probably, maybe working for themselves, however it turns out. And so it definitely has brought peace of mind and certain things I've seen online in that regard. And that's cool. But for me personally, I can't just quit something and then not have any other money coming in, especially with me living by myself and, I have to pay mortgage and car note. You know, I, obviously that helps maybe if you have no student loans, no credit card debt, things like that, maybe no car note. Uh, if you renting, then rent is every month. But if you, depending on your age, if you don't manage to pay off your home, so all you now you're dealing with is property taxes. Then you've lowered bills, and so you probably could survive longer, even though you live by yourself, you're not with mom and dad. But you don't cut out so many other factors of that take money out of your account every month. So, it also depends on how your lifestyle is currently set up. But just overall in general, uh, I would always have a plan if I'm about to quit. Is some other money coming in somewhere else for me to just say, okay, I'm gonna quit this, and then that's it. I can never just cold turkey quit, and there's no other plan of source of income that's coming in. And then you take a look at this article. I mean, obviously it's going on. This is from 2 months ago. And then it says half of the people are considering leaving their jobs this year, more than that great resignation, which happened, I think, a few years ago, where people was just, they did all of that quiet quitting and that whole thing. Okay, 2022, here it is here. And then 4.5 million people each month were leaving. And that's a nice little percentage of the United States workforce. Well, only 3%. And like I said, that was also corona pandemic times where people, things were shut down. And so people were just looking into other avenues to work for themselves and make money. But now here we are again in 2024, 4 years after pandemic ended. And in this poll, almost half of the people are thinking about leaving their jobs again. It's almost a repeat. from 4 years ago of what we're going into now, especially when you look at, still got the same two candidates running for president. So it's a lot of similar things. I don't know how people feel about that. If it's kind of eerie to you, if things are so similar, 2024, 2020, both leap years, a lot of funny things, going on. And then you see the rest of this. So, okay, this research is from Microsoft and LinkedIn. Okay, they're reputable. Then nearly half say they're considering quitting within the next year. And I don't know, like, if these people are burnt out, tired of the rat race, whatever you want to call it. It's it's a lot going on here in terms of people who are out of work and just are having a hard time finding something. How many have actually given up on the actual job search? Because the inflation. And so a lot of things may add to people wanting to quit. Even with no plan B, just stressed out. I get it. Not judging anybody there. And so, it's a lot going on. But then there was another article I came across. Well, this is more in line with me, and where it says, "Don't quit your job without a plan." And it's saying, "Do this instead." So let's take a look at this. And so it says, "Tempted to quit your job without a plan." They're gonna give you the pros and cons of quitting without having something else lined up and a possible solution. And so, okay. And so now we look at the generations here. 54% of Gen Zers, so that's people born, I think, 1998 to 2013. And then 41% of all employees are considering leaving their jobs. And then 240,000 quit their jobs back in July 2021, 3 years ago. And so this is going back more so to the Great Resignation. But let's go down to the reasons, the pros and cons. So you got resigning, and then you have quitting. Resigning is when you give your employer a notice, usually 2 weeks notice, about when you intend to leave. You send a letter, however you let them know, the standard 2 weeks notice. And then you start looking for something else. And then we got the quitting, when you just walk out without notice. I know some people who've done this. You don't give notice or anything like that. You just flat out walk away for whatever reason. And in doing that, you can possibly burn some bridges because people are like, well, you just left us high and dry, the company. But then you have people who feel the company doesn't care about them. So, you have to play your position in that. So now we get down to the pros and cons. Of course, no money. That brings about problems. Bills pile up. You may have to dip into your savings, borrow money from other people. And that's not something I want to go through, but that's some of the things that happens. And then it talks about having at least 6 months worth of expenses saved up. But I've seen articles where you have people in America who maybe only have 2,000 in their bank account. So not a lot of Americans are prepared to even quit, even though they're out here doing it. So you have that issue. Now here's something that's for quitting. If you just want to quit your job with no plan, and I talked about that earlier, mental health. You doing what you want to do, you doing what you love, setting your own time, focusing on you. You know, you get a chance to balance yourself out. And so I think the ideal situation is to monetize what you love, but then still have your mental health. And there's people that have that, and that's what a lot of people would like to get to. But then a lot of people out here miserable because, they're afraid they won't be able to pay a bill. So they stay into doing what they're doing, the whole 9 to 5 thing. And, maybe they do get burned out, that can happen. So we're going to keep going on with it. Here's another pro. More time to look for jobs where you can work from anywhere, the remote job thing. My job right now in IT is remote. So it's definitely gives a lot more balance. You right at home. You get a lot of your time back. I get more time to do what I like to do in terms of making these videos and putting my thoughts out here and throwing them out there for everybody to hear, listen, see, and go from there. So it definitely gives me time to work on that. I'm not stuck in any traffic. You know, the remote jobs, I mean, they're hard to get because everybody's directly aiming for those. And then after that, you have the hybrid situation with at home in the office and then fully time in the office. I've never done hybrid, only remote and in office. I'm remote now, and I prefer that over the other two. So yeah, being off gives you more time just to look for positions, even though the job market right now probably isn't the best. And now here's one where it says you may feel guilty about leaving your job. I don't know how many people would actually feel that way. Even if, let's say, I were to quit, I don't think I would feel guilty. Like you say, that's business, and then you separate that from friends and family. Why does it say people might feel guilty if you were to cause the workplace distress and you up and leave? And then client relationships. I mean, unless you was just there at that company causing a lot of problems, well, then they might be happy to see you leave anyway. I don't think too many people would feel guilty if they just up and left. Again, like I said, I know people who up and left and they don't feel guilty about leaving that company at all. And then this is going back, bringing it full circle. Don't quit your job without a plan. Do this instead. You need to understand why you want to leave. Don't just quit to quit. And then, they got other reasons here why, if you do decide to do it, some other good reasons, company downtown, acquisition, corporate restructuring, in terms of why you're not going to be able to maybe even stay there, or if it knocks out your work-life balance depending on what the company is doing, lack of career advancement. These are all other good reasons why you would want to quit, but you don't necessarily have to quit before you get into something where, okay, now I'm making more money and I got more responsibilities, whatever you're looking for. Or if you just want to start your own business, I know that's easier said than done. So I think this article more covers, okay, if you're going to quit, this is what could happen. Here's the other things to consider. So it's definitely, you have to weigh your options, the way I look at it. So again, you can look for remote jobs. Be careful about positions that you might not be qualified for. If you decide you just want to quit without any plan B and then eventually jump back into the job market, everybody's situation is different. Again, going back to, I still would never quit without a plan B, whatever that plan B may be. Just not going to quit and sit around, continue to save your money so you at least have the luxury of being able to sit around for 3 months, 6 months, without starting to struggle. And the best way to do that, just continue to save today. As you hear me talk about this, save tomorrow, and just continue to stack your money up. Now, I want you all to hear from someone who actually did quit his job in this video here. YouTube Fair Use. Check this out and see how he felt about it.
It is my first official podcast. My name's Steve, for those of you who didn't know. And in my podcast, we're going to be talking about personal growth. Wide variety of areas, from finance, health, to spiritual growth. And I want to help all you guys on your journeys and share some of the information that has helped me evolve and grow to who I am, and I have a lot of work left. I think everybody is in a situation where they're trying to get to the highest version of themselves. I've been super motivated and generating ideas for a podcast for a long time. I've been like inspired. Some huge names, Joe Rogan. This will be on the side of my car stuff too, so I'll be like interchanging content because I can't always make car content, so I want to like be able to film and like not have to worry about, you know, car stuff, buying parts and just all that. So in today's vid, we're going to talk about I quit my job without a backup plan and whether or not I regret it. I don't really have to get too much into detail. A lot of you guys, you know, follow the videos. If you haven't, you could check back in a couple vids. But to make a long story short, I was trucking for a bit and I needed some time off the road. So I just, you know, I kind of made a small plan and I just put my 2 weeks in and I left my job without having another job lined up. So I did have some ideas in terms of like obviously making money. You know, making money in 2024 is pretty easy. I mean, you could sell things, you can you know, monetize things online. I'll get into that in another podcast. But I quit my job without a backup plan, and a part of me does regret it because I'm gonna tell you why. I think a lot of people are scared of, you know, quitting their job because they don't have a nice fund, a nice emergency fund where they can fall back on. So like in my instances, I did stack up a good amount of cash, so that gave me the confidence to up and leave. I didn't really have to think twice about it, but things do pop up. So like I regret in a sense, you know, quitting because some emergency stuff came up, and yeah, granted I do have the funds and stuff to cover it, but it's still super stressful, guys. Like when you're dipping in or you're pulling out of your cash and you don't have anything like really replenishing it, or you don't have money replenishing it right away, it gets stressful. The type of guy who I always have to have like cash with me or like money in my accounts to feel like I'm all right. Even when I do have money in my accounts, I'm like, I'm still like, I should have more. I'm just really hard on myself. So I regret in that sense, just not having another. So I have a source of income, but like I said, it's not a weekly recurring thing like you're used to a 9-to-5 job where you get weekly checks. And I think a lot of my life I've been relying on that. I think everybody goes to a 9-to-5 for a while until they figure out what they really want. Although I didn't have a lot of time to do the stuff I wanted to do, I went in knowing that. So like I left a gravy gig, a pretty gravy gig, and I don't even know if I could, you know, get back into that, but I had it pretty smooth. Like they really worked with me and stuff. So I left a good thing for knowing that I wasn't going to be able to go back. Like I left a pretty decent thing. And when I say a good thing, I don't say like, you know, obviously some of the customers weren't the best, but when I say like good thing, I mean like consistent miles, consistent checks. That's what I'm referring to as good and cool managers. So I regret in a sense where, you know, I left like that. And the last thing I want to cover is having time off is good, but having too much time off can be a killer as well, because if you don't have things planned, I don't know why I'm holding this pen. I guess I was gonna jot notes down today, but I'm just free. I'm going like free flowing my thoughts, just stating whatever comes to my mind. So these are the things that I'm coming up with now. Having too much time is also a killer because you're trying to figure out things to do during your day. Now I know that's why, you know, it's important to be on a schedule. It's important to exercise and, you know, just be making productive in your time. I'll get into that'll be a whole nother thing. But there's some days where I'm like, all right, I caught up on things, I'm waiting for things, like what do I do? So like you have to plan like your days out, and I'm granted it's a blessing to have full days. It's a blessing to have full days, but I just went back to work part-time. It's two days, 3 days a week, so it's not going to really kill up too much time. But just be careful with that, guys, because you'll end up leaving. And if you don't have having a passion helps, guys, but if you don't have a passion or things you're working towards, or if you finish those things when you're off, you're going to be like, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? So yeah, I didn't want to make this video too long. I also plan on getting a legit podcast set up. I want to get a mic. I want to get, I have good lighting already, but I want to get a good mic and stuff. I hope you guys really enjoy it. I had some fun making this. I have more ideas planned. I know a lot of you guys want to see the Civic Si boosted. It's coming, I promise. I just can't tell you when. I take my time, I guess you could say, right? But that's coming. So in terms of podcasts and stuff, drop your comments down below. What do you want to see? I will be putting more videos out. I have way more ideas, but I want to connect with you guys. I'm sure everybody has a similar situation.
So there you have it from his experience, and he said just not having the cash on hand coming back in when you have to, he's able to cover it, but like he said, it can be stressful knowing that, okay, this is going out, but there's nothing coming back in to replace it, in terms of just not having a plan B. Once you decide to quit, he's already back to working part-time for a little while. He said 2 to 3 days. But he also mentioned passion. I think his passion is probably that podcast where he can monetize that and then eventually quit the part-time job that he's at. My passion for me isn't necessarily doing IT support, but I like communicating and getting my thoughts out to a general population, which I enjoy doing with my YouTube videos and just covering different topics and just communicating that out to the audience. Sitting down, taking the time to actually research, go through the different websites of the videos to try and bring it all together, in my video, and then doing that from here on out with future videos. So I think passion is important as well. If you're getting it into your head where, yeah, I think I do want to quit, maybe you're not going to quit cold turkey. Your plan B will be your passion, and you'll wait till that's bringing in money. But that definitely helps. So that way you're just not quitting, and then you end up going into that same type of job atmosphere where you probably just end up quitting again because that's not really what you want to do. And that's understandable. And so now you're just jumping out of the same situation and then into something similar, and you still not really enjoying any of that. And so who's to say you don't quit 6 months down the line? And so now you got a history of just leaving companies. So you do want to have stability. You want to be stable. And again, I'm really on the boat of not quitting without having something else lined up, whatever that may be. Have to have a plan B, A, B, C. I would never just leave. And like I say, having a passion helps, whatever that may be. Find your passion. I sometimes just through your day to day and things that you do, your passion might be revealed to you. Just look at some of the things you're good at. Uh, Look at the conversations you have with other people. Are you able to really get people to listen to you? Or do they really come to you for advice? Maybe the light is in there in terms of what your passion should be, and then how to monetize that to where you're making money from doing that versus filling out job applications for what you went to school for, whatever that may be. So it's just something to consider. It's, you know, it can be scary, just no plan B, and now you're out here trying to figure things out. Obviously having a lot of money saved up helps in that department, and, so you want to make sure you continue to make sure you build up your nest egg. But what do you all think? What are your thoughts on it? Do you have a passion? What's your passion? Would you actually ever quit with no plan B? How many of you all listening to this have actually quit no plan B and it's working out for you? Uh, or do you feel like, man, I should have stayed there? What are your thoughts on it? And what advice would you give to other people that's thinking about quitting with no plan B? I would tell them to, rethink that and have something lined up, not necessarily another job. I mean, that too. It just depends on which direction you want to go into it. But uh, let's avoid struggling. That's the bottom line there. Avoid the struggle. Uh, get your mental health together as well. You want to do something where the job isn't affecting your mental health. And then it just makes you overall feel good, and um, a less stressful life helps you live longer. So let me know what you all think in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. More videos on the way. Thanks for listening. I'm out.